as intractable as the one that you have here, and it's one that's been dumped on you by what's happened in England. So it's really tough, and it's given rise to issues that are really quite heartbreaking in some cases. What I've been bringing to the table is a comparison of Jersey with a number of other, well, in fact with most other places around the world. And one thing I can say with confidence is that a smaller and declining proportion of your young people are going to university in Jersey than any other developed country that I'm aware of. And that, for reasons that we've heard today, should be a real concern, both because of justice and opportunities, but also because of the ultimate development of the country. So the declining participation in higher education is one issue, and the other is the amount of finance, the amount of money that's devoted to higher education in this country, in this place, is really extraordinarily low. Now, you know, that arises, I know, in part from the whole philosophy, the reason for the existing perhaps in some people's eyes of low taxation, low, relatively low expenditure on public service, but it's a fact, and that makes it rather more difficult. I've been looking at alternative mechanisms that are either in place or are theoretically possible and have been discussed in other countries that would go some way towards addressing some of the issues. I think most of them you mentioned tonight, individual learning accounts, where you save for your children's education starting from when they're born. But I mean that has all sorts of issues and problems. They're not really much in use. Graduate tax. Again, I don't know of a jurisdiction that has a graduate tax. The tax on graduates, you know, they pay an extra few percent of their earnings. A levy on businesses for every graduate that they employ. Again, theoretically possible to be discussed tonight. Most countries don't, although they think about it, they don't do it because they're worried that it might dissuade companies from locating to their country. I don't think that's the case. Overseas, more relationship with overseas universities not charging as much as England charges. That has other sort of problems, apart from language, culture. Development of University College Jersey. That's necessary for reasons, the sort of reason we've heard, quite apart from that it's a local opportunity and so on. You need to have available locally opportunities for retraining and for skills education later on in life and so on, and they're rather limited at the moment, and that's going to become even more necessary. So apart from anything else, development of University College Jersey, but most particularly a loan system. It doesn't have to be like the UK one. The UK one is income contingent, graduates repay depending on what they earn. An alternative is to have a mortgage scheme where they pay the same amount every month regardless of what they earn. So there are alternatives. Part of that, I've found it necessary to do sort of myth-busting type exercise. I mean, there is the suggestion that the English scheme, for example, is accompanied by a high level of default. It's not actually default. It is the government's contribution to the cost of the scheme. I mean, the default, the so-called default, is the amount the extent to which graduates aren't repaying their loans. The extent to which they're not repaying their loans depends on the terms of the loan scheme. The loan scheme might say, and it does say in England, after 30 years all your loans, all your debt is forgiven. Well, that's non-repayment, but it's not default. It is actually part of the way the scheme is described. So if you had such a scheme in Jersey, you could actually, the government could determine the extent to which there was a public contribution, which you might call a non-repayment, but certainly not default. So the other thing, well, there are, I mean, in Singapore, for example, parents give a guarantee. In Germany and Australia, the loan is increased by 25–30% to cover the fact that there will be non-repayment and so on. So there are, people who oppose the idea will give you good reasons, or what they consider to be good reasons not. But I think part of my role has been to try and identify what the real issues are. And finally, looking to the future, there is, as we discovered and discussed, no free option, certainly. There's no cheap option, actually. But that takes us absolutely head on with the political issue. Jersey's political philosophy seems to be largely, and this I've encountered with some of the people that some of the ministers and others that have talked to us, it's very largely low taxation, low government expenditure. Now that seems to me a perfectly legitimate political choice, and it'll be for the politicians, I think, to decide whether, which is the more important, whether it's to maintain that approach, or whether it's more important to give young people the opportunities to go to universities in greater number, because you can't really, it seems to be, to have both, but it'll be for Scrutiny channel to decide what they recommend in that. That's probably